Good morning. Good Wednesday morning. Quick sound check. Okay, excellent. Let's rock and roll. So we got the phony CPI data and they goosed the tape. Okay, fair enough. That's what we've got. So very simply, they're coming into an area that they've basically broke out above. What am I talking about? I'm talking about this breakdown candle high and this spot yesterday around yesterday's highs. Okay, this is what they broke out above. And this is what they're coming back to run a test of since they've been above most of the pre-market since the data release at 8:30, okay? So that's your first area of interest. However, the fact that they're there right now makes it higher risk. If they're gonna run a test, we'd like them to spike it. The ideal situation is to buy the lower portion. All right, that's the reality, all right? Could they just sit here and shoot up? Yeah, they could. What's the likelihood they do that? It's a 50, it's a coin toss. It's not good enough, okay? So I would say the zone really begins from a trading perspective at around 411, okay? But you got to be willing to buy down to 410, 409.70. And if they start getting below 409.70, it's a different tape and they're failing and it was a false/fake breakout. Do we think it's a false/fake breakout? I do not right now. I have in mind the inverse head and shoulders pattern on the daily chart, and that says to me, well, this is normal. They should be doing this, okay? So if that's the case, then this is just a test and they'll bounce up and do whatever they're gonna do. So I'm in the camp of being a buyer between 411 and a spike of 410. That's my zone, okay? 409.65 is important, okay? From yesterday, remember that. Daniel, good job. Yep. I didn't notice they did that, but I'll take your word on it. Funny how that works. We'll give it a funny how that works. So that's the scoop. We got a couple of minutes to post time. Just one stock on the move today, Sirius. That one was all over the place. And it's not a heavy volume stock. So the numbers are a little far away, but you never know. We'll just leave it at that. Yes, Kevin. That's the ideal. In other words, if you're not willing to wait for 411, some traders will buy 411.65 anyway. I don't think that's the best idea in the book. I think the idea is let them give the appearance of a shakeout. Okay. Okay. Couple seconds to post time. All right. Whoops. What happened there? Got a little frozen. Let me reset it. Sorry about that, folks. All right. Got a little data problem at the open. My apologies. Doesn't change the numbers. I'll get it settled. There we go. 411.66 low. You see how this is important stuff? Let them come down a little bit. Armand, don't worry about it right now. We're looking for a long. I'll let you know. Believe me. If there's a short on the board, I'll let you know. If there were buyers, and I know there were at 411.65, you're going to take 6 or 7 points, and then you have to exit at 412.80 as well if they don't come back down. If they do, and you were a buyer at 411.65, then you were willing to buy lower. That's just the way it works every day. Okay. This became higher risk because they were right there at the open. So I won't be surprised if they come down a little bit. Just to circle back to Armand's question, if they shoot up, 412.80 will have a reaction, likely back down in the other direction, at least for a scalp. But the real juicy zone for a short is higher. It's 413.95 up to 414.75 or 85, I believe. I don't know if they get there today. They may. If you took a long at 411.65, you have to be taking profit here. Just get a base hit in the books. 6 points, 5 points, 7 points, you know, as they shoot up. Don't feel like you missed anything. There's always another trade around the corner. They didn't come lower. It was just higher risk at the open. I have to tell you the way it is. Just so I know, is anybody long currently? Mike already got out. Nice job, Mike. Okay. All right. So we have some players. Yeah, go ahead, Raf. Yeah, you're right, Daniel. That is correct. And that's one of the reasons why it was too close at the open. It was really too risky. But if you're if you understand the risk and you're willing to buy lower, then that was a trader's choice. But I just had to tell you the way it was. All right, so we had some players in there. Okay. So what they get to a high of? Okay, so they gave you about that 5 points. Well, Microsoft's up, so forget that, Raf. It's not down there. Now there's a whole new set of numbers today. All right, so we had some traders that are already taking a profit. They're out. All right, so that was a scalp. That's base hit. Just put in the books. Let them come down. Let them have a little shakeout. They're not running away just yet. See if we got anything else moving around. I'm looking. Just missed one. Not telling you what it is. I just didn't get there in time. It already bounced. Shoot. Take a look at some other stuff. I'm looking around to see what's moving. I got AMD. Let's see that one. Okay. It's not really weak. It's down 50 cents. Nothing you could do with that. 93 and a quarter is first place of support. They're just about there, AMD. But it's a little bit risky. Better place is a spike in 92. 91.90 AMD, maybe. Not maybe, 91.90. Wait, hold on a second. Yeah. Well, let's see what else we got. BABA. There it is. BABA. There's your number. If they get there. It's not close, but just in case. All right, let the spiders come down a little bit into the zone. They'll shake out. What else we got? NVIDIA. 267.10. I already had it on my screen there. NVIDIA. Okay, here we go. 411 to 410. Microsoft's flat in the day. Forget it. There's no trade there. We're not in Microsoft. This is yesterday's trade. There's no trade in Microsoft today. What does that mean, Raf? Are you talking about Microsoft? I don't care about that stuff. If that's what you're talking about. 411.15 low. You want to do a give or take at 411, that's up to you. This is the zone that they broke out above, okay? 411 to 411.65 is the zone they broke out above. So they're in the zone. If you want to wait for lower, that's up to you, but they are in the zone. It's a zone. It's just the way it is. I like them to go a little bit lower. Let them shake it out. Nice reversal in the Qs. It's early. It's the first candle, first 15-minute candle anyway. It's not a big deal. Oh, AMD, it doesn't matter to me, Raf. That stuff. It's just the numbers. You know that. The only time I look at a headline is on a tremendous move, just to double check what's going on. Other than that, don't even look. You can see how they're fighting 411. Here's NVIDIA. David. 267.10 is the first number. I would even say, for now, can move that one. 85. Okay. It's showtime. That was the give or take. They're there. Okay. This is the beginning of the zone for a buy. Don't be surprised if they come down here to 410 like that. Normal garden variety. When you're buying at the top of a zone, you have to be willing to buy in the zone or the bottom of the zone. Below 409.70, it becomes not the same. Test is one thing, fill in the gap is one thing, but start closing candles below there is no good. Here comes your 410. Okay. Looking for a bounce back in the other direction. Nice bounce in NVIDIA. We're focused on the spiders right now, Jason. Ideally, 411.10 to 411.15 in that zone is going to be some overhead resistance normally. And then you're looking for a run back to 411.65 or higher. If you bought down at the bottom end of the zone, you're looking to take profit around 410.90. Today, the transports have some relative weakness. The IWM's up a little bit, but not much. Not a crisp bounce just yet. So that's of note. Let's see what another chart looks like. You got this gap looming down here. Doesn't mean they have to get there, but it's looming. Looks like a reversal in the making, but it's too early to tell. Doesn't mean they won't bounce. Just talking through the market. Again, we don't get excited, we don't get flustered, and we don't get anxious. If you're any of those things, then your position size is likely too large. It's a mechanical process. Most will work, some will not. It's a better bounce. If you're long from the lows, only from the lows, 410.90 is an exit, not have to be final exit. If your average is in the middle somewhere, you're looking for 5 to 7 points for the scalp portion to take some kind of profit in your pocket, get a base hit booked, go into the second or third inning 1 for 1. It's kind of the way it works. And if they can close candles above 410.95, that's a good deal. Then 411.65 is on the table and higher. Okay. Well, that's the first exit. Okay. So we're good to go. Let me hear it. What do you got? How many traders bought in the zone, have taken profit, and are riding the wave? Nice job, Jeff, Thomas, Shannon, Dirk, Daniel. I mean, it just goes on and on and on. I can't even read the names fast enough. Fantastic, folks. Love it. Love it. That deserves a, how do you like, dem apples. Nice job, Grant. I can't even say names fast enough. Everybody, Eric, Jason, Michael, I could just, Ron. Nice job, Ron, day one. How do you like that? How'd you miss it? How did anybody miss that? You were scared. That's okay. You didn't miss it. You decided not to take it. That's okay. You thought it was wrong. You stick around. You'll get it. You just got to do it, Mark. I know it's hard. You just got to do it. Well, if you're late, Jordan. Yeah, what can you do? Kevin, that's great anyway. And by the way, you probably did the right thing. All right, so listen, here's the situation. You got a profit. You try and hold it for the trailer. If you you just don't let the rest of it go bad on you. And if you get taken out, you get taken out. It's still a base hit, and there's another trade around the corner. Nice job, Jeff. It's a lot of points. Anybody in NVIDIA, by the way? Anybody take profit in NVIDIA? Anybody playing NVIDIA? Just curious, otherwise I'll take it off the screen. They didn't really bounce that much. 67, 67. That's not enough. Mohammed's in NVIDIA. Okay. Carlos. Sash. Okay, so we have NVIDIA players. All right. Just, you're looking for more. That's the bottom line. They come down a little bit, it's because the spiders are coming down most likely. It comes at 10 o'clock situation. I don't know if there's any economic data, but it's coming. 10 seconds. FOMC later today. What does that mean? One of the governors is talking, one of the Fed presidents or whatever. I don't think the FOMC is meeting this week. Oh, meeting minutes. Oh, those are fake. They don't say anything. If the market's moving, that's the reason, but they don't say anything. It's just watered down, what they want you to know. All right, so listen, if they come down again, there may be another buy at the gap. Why is that? Because it's a spike to low and rip it back up in the other direction by filling the gap. But if they're failing, that's the flat line after being up a lot in the pre-market. So if they're failing, they're going to blow through the gap. So that's a higher risk situation today. Got to read the current tape. It's not always the same. So Armand, here's the way I look at that. I appreciate it. And I've studied Elliott Wave for a long time ago. And you never really know, because if something changes today, the entire wave count changes. It's on the verge of ridiculous because they're never wrong. They just change the count. And if you ask 10 Elliott Wave estheticians or whatever they're called, what the count is, you get 20, 25 answers. It's not as cut and dry as you might believe. It's a little ridiculous. It only works in a third wave, believe it or not. You can only identify for real a third wave or an ending wave sometimes. and maybe that's the case, but I'll go with my numbers. Harmonics goes with some of the astrology type stuff. Never heard of that stuff, David. Nothing trumps the numbers, I'm telling you. the harmonics and all that stuff is, for me, better matching with time than price. Nice pop on the spiders. So those of you still long, you're getting a free ride. Have traders that are riding it on the free ride. 411.65, Ron. That's the next exit. If they come back below 410.95 and start closing below there at this point, then they're probably going to come down to fill the gap. Probably doesn't mean you do anything based on that. I'm just saying that if they can't sustain price above 410.95, it's a problem for the bull case for the time being. Okay, so NVIDIA is popping a little bit. So they gave you more than $1. They should get to 269 if they're any good. NVIDIA, 269, Sash. $2 would be a good trade. You can hold, you could take some profit and hold. You know, when I say 269, don't be afraid to take it at 268, 85, 90, that kind of thing. Just because they sometimes will come up short, other times they'll spike them through, and you just don't know. So you just take the high road and you say, well, I'll just get out in front and won't be a Chaza, pig from Scarface. If you're young, you don't remember that movie, you don't know about it. Nice pop. This was the trade. This was the shakeout. Johnny come latelys hop on at the open, they get shaken out, they create liquidity when they capitulate out and the market bounces. And it's not really, that's not really what happens, but that's what happens. It's not the reason, but that's really what happens. The numbers are the numbers. I'm just saying that what's actually happening inside the market in real time is exactly what I just said. Some people hopped on and they got screwed, pie in the face. Talk about it all the time. We don't do that. That's a case for why not. I say it all the time. You never chase the market around, up or down, doesn't matter. You make them do what you want for the trade, for your trade. You make them do the thing that you want for your trade, and anything else they do, somebody else's trade, they can have it. There's your 269 or close to it. What is it? 79. You know, the spiders are going to get to 211.65. Why wouldn't they? You're welcome. Who's got a trailer on? Yeah, nice. Nice. A lot of you. I say it every day. It's very hard. Some of you still have trouble doing it. I get it. But you have to learn to trust yourself, because self trusts the numbers. Until that happens, it's almost impossible. You just have to trust the process. We do the same shit every day. Trade executions they should be easier than the exits because they're at the numbers or below the numbers, Michael. All right, you'll get it. You'll get it. Still riding Fab. That's fabulous. Fabtastic. That's a fake name. Come on. It's okay, Ron. It's day one. You get the cadence of what's going on here. You'll be fine. You're doing good anyway. Oil. Oil is breaking above. You want the numbers in oil? I'll do it in a moment. Remind me a little later. You know what, Armand? You always bring up that GS stuff, and it's actually never right. Not what I'm reading. You send me stuff, and it says it's going to do one thing, and something else happens. So I don't know. Listen. I've been doing this a long time. They're right as much as other people. Not that much. People get faked out by the name Goldman Sachs and they think they're right all the time, and they're not. Nice job, Grant. That's okay, Fab. I'll just call you Fab. There's your 411.65. That deserves a how you doing? How do you like them apples? Got to take a profit there, and then you hold more. If you have more, you hold more. If you don't want to take a profit there, that's your choice. They can go higher. Look at NVIDIA. All right, NVIDIA is done. Whoever's got profit in NVIDIA, rest is a free ride. It's trader's choice. What's going on with the Qs? Yeah, somebody put in before Qs are at the low a day, and I ignored it on purpose because it's nothing to do with our spider trade. That's the reason. Whoever put that in, that's the reason I ignored it. It doesn't matter. We did the same thing yesterday. The more information you have, the more cloudy your head gets. If I'm not looking at something, I don't think it's important. 412.80, Carlos. It's up on the board. It's up here. It's hard to see. Well, I'm sorry. 411, pardon me, 412, give or take, is the high of day, and they'll find resistance there. That's really the next place. Pardon me. Nice job, Raf. Isn't this great? Only in here do I see what's going on, but now I look over in my email and I see all the traders from just inside the numbers, not the live room, that took the trade, and they email me. So I love it. I know a lot of people got the trade. Makes me feel good. This is not easy. It doesn't look like it's doing what it's going to do. It looks like it's doing the other thing. Looks like it's collapsing. It's not what's going on. They're running a test. You betcha, Kevin. See that resistance at 411.65? Now we know, once again, I said it before, but they blew right through it after stopping there for a little while, you know, at the open. But now we know that's important because they just hit it and they just pull back a little bit. It's resistance, even if it's for a few minutes. We just know that. You could see it here. Look what happened. They found support for a few minutes. Now they found resistance for a few minutes. So you know it's important. You're just reading the tape. I'm not making it up. I'm just looking at it saying this is what happened, therefore this is the case. Nice job, Dennis. That's a great trade. Yeah, patience pays. It takes a while, Ron. But once you learn that you don't really care what the market does, is all you care about is that they give you the trade you want and nothing else. That's patience. You just wait. You're waiting for them to do what you want. It's just a morning trade. At this point, most of us had a really nice day in the first half hour of trading, right? 45 minutes, whatever, you know, whatever. The rest is easy. The next trade is much harder than the first trade. The morning trade is the one you want. And the morning trade is the one we had. It's the one where they're running a test of something early on, and they're going to make a decision for the next hour or 2 hours or whatever it is. They're either going to bounce off it or they're not. And that's the hardest thing to do, is take the trade at the best place, because it looks wrong. It looks wrong when you don't know what they're doing. If you're day one here, aside from Ron, who's been around for a while, if it's day one here and you're just kind of getting your feet wet, you had no idea they were going to bounce it. You're saying, what are you, crazy? But you stick around for a while and you'll see the same thing happens almost every day. 13 handles, Patrick, great job. Yeah, John, I'm going to read that out loud because that's so important. So John switched from SPY options over to futures on Monday, a couple days ago, and he's up $3,000 in 3 days. Couldn't come close to that with options. Options are designed to make you lose. If you're on the right side, and there's plenty of people in here that do play options because the numbers are the numbers, and if you're right, you're going to get the reward. But when you're wrong, they deteriorate on you, and it's very hard. It's very hard. The short-term options. Common stock, Raf? Yeah, correct. Correct. So 411.65 was resistance. No surprise. No, to futures, Fab. ES or micros, MES, either way. Is 410.95 a buy at present if they come down to there? And the answer is no. The answer is no. Not that they won't bounce off of it, but the answer is no. The next trade has to be really, really good to take it at this point. You have to, not only do we read the tape, and every tape is different and trades are based on the numbers and the tape, but once you have a profit, and yet it's a big profit for most of you, you have to take the next trade that is really worth the risk reward. You don't want to give up the profit, and you're never going to risk for a next trade today, for example, you're never going to risk all the profit. You're going to take a smaller position and you're going to only risk a portion of the profit. Correct, Patrick. The options that you do select, if you are playing options, matter. In other words, Patrick's saying he's using the terms delta, and that's above my pay grade. It's not really, but basically what it means is if you take out of the money, there's deltas, thetas, all this stuff. If you go out of the money, buy options out of the money, your risk reward is different than buying them at or in the money, because they'll deteriorate faster if you're wrong, but you'll get a reward if you're right, but you're taking higher risk, you're taking more risk. Yeah, in the money is best. Even slightly in the money. There's no course on futures needed, Michael. It's a vehicle, just like buying the SPY or buying an option or buying a stock. You're just opening a futures account and you're buying the MES or the ES instead. And your funding is different because you get more leverage with futures. So for example, some of the brokers out there, the futures brokers will let you buy, 5-to-1, they'll let you buy, I don't know. I don't really know the margin requirements, but you have to call the brokers and find out. But you could put, a few $1,000s in an account and you could be trading futures tomorrow. No problem. It's just a vehicle, nothing more, nothing less. Vehicle to trade. It's inventory. The vehicles that we trade are inventory, or however you want to look at it. It could be fish. There you go. Good job, Mark. Wow. I didn't see that. Look at that. 96 was the low on Microsoft on my screen, but yesterday's number was 281.85, the second number on the board. And they hit it yesterday too anyway, but they went back for a test today, Microsoft. Look at that bounce. Look at this chart. Look at that. They went back for a test to the same spot. Yeah, Daniel, TradeStation has high margin requirements, so it may not be the best for most traders. Oh, micros, well, yeah, they're all the same with that for the most part. The platforms don't matter anymore, really. Just the top ones, if you just take the top 7 to 10 platforms, the difference is, I don't want to get too deep into this, but they have this thing called pay for order flow. And it was in the news, in and out last several years. And basically the platforms, some of them you can choose whether you want to pay for trades or you want free trades. Well, if you take free trades, then they're selling your order flow and you're not getting the same execution as the people that are paying for the trades. Just cut and dry. Like for example, if you're letting them sell your order flow, you're the product. It's like social media. All those free social media platforms, you're the product. They sell your data. Same thing. See, here comes the sell-off. 411.65 was more important than I originally thought it was going to be, but it's not a buy. That's why it was an exit, by the way, because it was certainly a number, no question about it. Now the test is going to be 410.95. All right, so they did bounce off of it, but you said don't buy it. I did say that for the reasons I said before. It was not worth risking the profit. You don't have to be in another trade right away. No 1 minute candles. I say that a lot. Whenever somebody brings up 1 minute chart, I say no 1 minute candles. There's no data in a 1 minute candle. It's 1 minute worth of data. When you look at a 1 minute chart, okay, let's do it. It's a 1 minute chart. All right. See that? How do you distinguish that from this? This is going to tell you more what they're doing, as will this or this, as opposed to this. They don't know what they're doing. No idea. There's no data in a 1 minute candle. Gives you a false sense of where the market is, what it's doing. I'm your alter ego. Thanks, Daniel. So even though I said don't buy it, it was not worth the risk of the profit. That's the point. Just because they bounced doesn't mean I knew they were going to bounce. I didn't. They just ran a test of another number, but that's good for the bull case. Above 411.65 is the bull case. Daniel, why don't we just go with what I do? Don't try and change it. More information does not help you. It's about the numbers. It's not about a 1 or 5 minute chart. It doesn't matter what time frame we're looking at when we're looking at numbers. Makes no difference. Sometimes I'll leave an hourly chart up there. It doesn't matter as long as we're looking at the numbers. Nothing to do with the time frame when we're looking for a buy or a sell at a number. Well, there you go again. They're having trouble with that 411.65. Let me answer that question like this, Jerry. Well, I answered it before. 412.80 to 414. No. Well, now it changed. Before I said up at 414 to 414.85 was a short, but that was early on because you didn't know if they were going to run up or not. Now 412.80 would be the first area that I would entertain a reaction back down in the other direction for a short if they got up there anytime soon. But remember what I say all the time about the torture of a short trade around lunchtime or early afternoon, market's floating. If it's up there by lunchtime, you're in the bull case. So do you want to short, do you want to fight the tape in a short torture trade around lunchtime in a bull case if the market was up, you know, let's say the S&P was up 30 points by then, because that was what it would be up there? No, not really. I'd rather ride it up there. Yeah, fighting the tape. You don't want to fight the tape. If there's no sellers and it's a bull situation and they're making new highs intraday and they're breaking out over the area that they couldn't break out above before, yeah, there's a short up there somewhere, but you have to just take the whole thing in and say, well, do I want to torture myself in a short trade in the middle of the day? Probably not. Early in the morning when there's participation, there's some volume, that's one thing, because that was the number, Sash. My numbers are based on math, and so I just give you the number. Sometimes they come up short, sometimes they spike them through. The number was 85, 281.85 actually in Microsoft. That was my number. They came up short today, but that was yesterday's number anyway, and they did it yesterday. So it was just an, oh, by the way, look what happened. It wasn't a trade or anything. Yeah, that Jerry, that's one of the reasons why I was up at 414 to 414.85, because 414 is an important place and 85 is another important number. And the pre-market high was just short of that. So I would go a little higher with my numbers in an important spot, but that's one of the reasons, because of they were up there in the morning. So that means that, you know, there's something important up there. I'll be right back. Give me 30 seconds. Herein lies the reason why I didn't like 410.95, even though they bounced on the first hit when we talked about it. This is what I was afraid of. If they go negative on a day, it's a bad thing for the bull case, because, at least for the short term, because it's a false breakout, it's a failed breakout, and that brings in a new concept. And if they come down below the gap, there's another trade. Are they going to bounce at the gap now? We talked about it before. It's really a 50-50. Spike the low and rip it back up in the other direction at the gap. Again, because of the potential failed breakout situation, I'm not in love with that trade. Carlos, give me more on that. I mean, you're supposed to be out already. The trade was over. They came below the buy price. That means the remaining portion, the trailing portion, was out. Give me more. What do you got there? You didn't get out. All right. Well, you just got a lesson. You didn't follow instructions. I'm sorry to say, but I have to tell you that, because that's the only way you're going to learn. They're doing the spike the low and rip it back up in the other direction thing anyway, so you might be okay. And I will tell you this, regardless of what happens from this point forward, first loss, best loss, always keep that in the back of your mind, put it on a sticky note and put it on your desk. Did you take profit at all? Okay, you got a lesson. There's Baba, came into the number. Thanks, Blaine. The problem is there's no other number. This is your next area, 92, that they would normally have a bull bear battle. So just so you know that. But that was the number. But they didn't do it in the manner in which, right? So just so we have an understanding of what's going on here, it came up short, came up short, came up short. Now they're doing it. So we don't like the hover. That changes the trade. We wanted them to come in here, for example, in the first rundown. That is the best opportunity. Doesn't mean it won't work. It just changes the risk profile of the trade. Let's see what's going on here. The hourly chart. They ran up. They pulled back. They ran up again. They tried to break out. They got above it a little bit, and they failed. Doesn't mean later today they won't be back up here, and it doesn't mean they won't be up here tomorrow. Right now, what we're looking at is they tried to break out and they failed. So now you say, all right, I have that in mind. We know the story with the 409.70. We know the story with the failed breakout. And we know the story with the type of tape it is. So is there another buy on the board? And the answer is yeah, 408.65 if they did it. Patience. Make them do what you want, not what somebody else wants, not what your alter ego wants. I'm your alter ego. Worst case in the world. It's not the worst case in the world, Chris. Just so you know, and this, I didn't say this at the time, but I did it on purpose. When I hit the buy button, I did it manually. I just hit it and it was in the zone. And it was kind of, and I know people heard that and it was a message. Just so you know for the future. That's okay. If you were waiting for a number and they came up 10 or 15 cents short, sometimes you just chalk it up to it just shit happens. It's not that big of a deal. As long as you're gaining an understanding of what's going on here and how it works and what we do, why we do it, when we do it, for the reasons, all that stuff, you begin to compound the learning and then it gets easier because you get a different comfort level getting into a trade. Nah, I can't say that, Daniel. I'm not even sure. I don't know they'll be back up there at all. I have no idea at this point. Get an idea in a little while. I would say 410.95 right now is more of a pivot-ish type of situation, but that's not solid. That's not necessarily a fact. That's what I'm saying is if they can recapture 410.95, then you're likely going to recover and get to 411.65 or more, but they have to get above it, 410.95. Let me show you what that is. It's right here. It's this area here. So this is a breakout area, but so is this, because this is where they stalled out yesterday. They broke out above it. They bounced early, but now they're below it. So there's really two breakout areas. That's why I did that. I'll be right back. I know there's some questions rolling in. Just give me a minute. Let's see what we've got here. I don't know, Jerry. The closer they get, the more likely they are to hit it. But you know, there's no set number saying, well, once they're within 25 cents, they'll hit it. They don't. Sometimes they come up short. Sometimes they spike them through. There's no set answer for that. It's part of that art form versus science. You know, have the numbers and how the market trades is going to be slightly different every single day. Grace, how about an ES account? Tell me the basis on that. Well, you have to open an account with a broker, futures broker, or one of the kind of the full service brokers will have a futures option. You have to fill out some paperwork. You have to agree that you understand the risk, and then they open a futures account, you fund it, and you go from there. You could trade the MES or the ES depending on the funding that you put in there. The MES, you don't need that much funding. A few $1,000s will do the trick, even less. And patience, right? Forget 409.70. We're not buyers there. Let them come down. Let them spike this low. Shake everybody out. There, that's the reason, right? Mbaba, we talked about that. They didn't do it in the manner in which. They don't like that. What are the Qs doing? Yeah, hovering. They're hanging around the lows. So this is not a test because they've already been down here a few times. Same thing with the spiders. This is no longer just a test. They're either going to bounce here and start back up, or they're coming lower. And this is not a test anymore. Could have been down here, but not anymore. Just let them do it. Let them do their thing. If they don't do it, they don't do it. They'll do something else. We talk about it all the time. I'm your alter ego. Patience. You don't have to be in another trade right now. There we go. There we go. Let them do it. 408.65. It's an opportunity. Much below 408.25, and that's not going to look so hot. Just saying. Just you got to know both sides. If they trigger 408.65 and they start pushing below 408.25 or closing candles below there, it's going to open the door for the next number. A spike is just a spike, a bounce back, that's okay. You know I can't answer that, Carlos. How would I know? I'm just talking about the next buy area, 408.65. Listen, there's nothing I can do with that. You didn't follow instructions. I hate it, but you know, I wish it wasn't true, but I don't know what to tell you. I'm giving you what's going on in the market now, and I'm telling you the next thing. I'll just say this to everybody. If here comes the spike to low and rip it back up in the other direction, see how that works? They didn't get to my number, but they're trying it anyway. If you're going to make your own rules on these trades, you're not going to have the same results as the rest of the room. I put blinders on and just do what I say. I know what I'm talking about. I know why you have to take profit when you have to take profit. Greed kicked in, Carlos. That's the unfortunate thing. 180 on Tesla. It's far away, but that's the only number I would buy. That's right, Michael. That's right. Because, once again, because of the type of tape, okay, and the failure and all that stuff we talked about a couple times, the spike to low and rip it back up in the other direction has to be at a number rather than just spike the low and rip it back up in the other direction. So again, we do this trade a lot, but the parameters each day is slightly different. So it has to be at a number specifically today. Sometimes it doesn't. Sometimes it's just spike the low and rip it back. That's not today. Today it has to be at a number. By the way, I'm back to Carlos. The reason that I do what I do now is because I've done what you did many times. And I learned the hard way that you have to do it my way, this way. The amount of times that you get that runner, that you just get that huge win, as opposed to taking profit along the way and having this, it's just so minuscule that I learned the hard way, believe me, very hard way. Right, it's not my way, you're right, Jerry. It's just the way. I didn't invent any of this stuff, nothing. I invented some stuff, but not that. NVIDIA, there it was. That was the next number on the board. This one, then you're down here, 264, give or take. Is 409.70 a valid short? No, Sammy, that goes in the camp of what I said before. You got to let them do the thing you want, since we already had a good one in the books. And if it was, forgive me, but I would have told you. You're just looking for a trade. Just look for the trade I gave you, 408.65. Patience. Get the ants out of your pants. Okay. I know, based on the questions, what each of you is feeling most of the time. The questions are the tell. And I'm helping you, I guarantee it. By slapping you around a little bit and certain things, whoever it is, it doesn't matter. I'm not singling anybody out. I'm helping you. Because if I'm nice about it, you're not going to remember. If I'm a little bit nasty about it, you will remember. Psychology. Oh, well, maybe it'll bounce there and you might be able to do it. I'm not going to say that kind of stuff. With me, it's very black and white. That's a little far away, 407.40. What I said before is below 408.25, and it's, you know, if they stay back below there, then it opens the door for that 407.40, but I'm not going to consider that a zone. It's too wide right now. This is not the morning trade. It's too slow. You don't want to watch them drip down, you know, a $1.20, $1.25 and hope they bounce there, not later in the morning, not leading into lunchtime. Especially go back to everything I said before about the type of tape. You're in a failure situation. It changes the stuff. Hold on a second. There's really nothing here except these lows, and that's not good enough for me in the Qs, unfortunately. Yeah, Riz, that was, now you see it, right? Jerry, they all start as a scalp with potential. When the market's slow and it's in a failure mode, you can't say I'm looking for a big bounce because you're making it up. And I'm not saying you are, I'm saying I would be making it up if I say, yeah, I'm looking for a big bounce off 408.65. I don't know. How would I know? That's why they start as a scalp with potential. This is a process. Look what happened. Sometimes we get a scalp, they come back down and we say, all right, it's a base hit, we'll wait for the next thing. Sometimes we get a double or a triple. This morning it was a double or a triple for some, whatever you want to classify it as. It was at least a double. You know, we can even say it was a little bit of a Whopper Junior. And you don't know, and that's why we use a process, because you don't know. Anybody who thinks they know is fooling themselves. Here we go. There it is. Showtime. On this one, 409, 409 to 409.10. That's what you're looking for. And if they come below 408 and a quarter and they stay below there, it's going to open the door for 407.40. First loss, best loss. It's just nothing ever changes in the trading business. It really doesn't. There's a set of rules that apply. Free set of rules, Jay. I have just the things I always discuss, and they're my rules. That's my whole process is my rules. And they're not really just all my rules, it's just the rules. Take profit along the way, first loss, best loss. Those are just trading isms. And that's not a shocker, Armand, since the market's negative. We got a real failure on our hands. Doesn't mean there won't be a bounce. I'm just saying we got a real failure on our hands. Let me just show you where they are. So you see there's 200 period moving average here in a 15-minute chart. You're into the 100 on the 30-minute chart. You're spiking below these moving averages, the 20 and the 50 on the hourly chart. You're into the 20 and below it on the 2-hour chart. And look at this. I mean, you could see these candles. These are serious candles. This 2-hour close is going to come in 15 minutes. That's a serious reversal candle. This is where they really have to bounce it. Otherwise, they're going to drip all the way down here. Well, Jerry, I said not to do that, right? The next trade you take, you're never going to risk the entire profit that you just made. I said that. I say that all the time. It's one of those rules. How could you wipe out total profit when the buy price was 30 cents ago, 50 cents ago? It's impossible. Is this the morning low? We're looking for a morning low. How could you wipe out the morning's profit when this trade isn't over? Anybody that got in at 408.65, what'd I say? I said much below 408 and a quarter for long rather than just a touch or a spike or whatever. And what was the low? 23. So the trade is not over. 409 to 409.20 is your first profit. No, that's not the stop, Jason, because that's too close to the next number. Ah, well, that's different. That's different. Patrick, I thought you were leaving. Maybe not. Maybe that was yesterday. That was a nice buy down there, even though they didn't get there. I don't know how you got in at 408. Magic. I didn't say there was a target, Sash. Where did I say there was a target down south? This is a long trade at 408.65. You short when the market gives it to you. There's no short when you're in the hole. If as the market's going down, you don't short the tape hoping it goes down more. You short resistance and you buy support. Now, we were buyers here this morning, right? So we were riding it up. Now, we didn't know that it was going to find final resistance at 411.65. Otherwise, if I thought that was going to happen, I would have shorted it there. But we were long looking for more and they didn't give it to us. So we got what we got and then the rest is gone. So that's why it wasn't a short, would have been a short up here, not here. Just so happens that was the final resistance this morning. That's fine. You're learning. Like when I say, if they get below here, they'll go to here. That's not a short. That's just what's going on. Because we don't know that they'll get there. It opens the door for the next number. But there may be a buy at the next number. Same thing on the reverse when they're going up. When they're going up, the next number might be a short. But in this case, when they're going down, the next number might be a buy. You buy support, you sell resistance. You never short in the hole. It's a recipe for disaster. In the hole means when they're already down. What was the high? Not 409 yet. Frankly, anybody, this is not just for Sash, but anybody, you don't care as a trader whether it's a short or a long. You could care less. You just want to be in the correct trade in the correct time frame. I don't care whether it's short or long. I could care less. Correct, Patrick. Market agnostic. That is correct. Let's see if they give us the scalp. Some of you may have already taken it. Looking for more. Okay, here they come. A little more. There you go. That's it. Scalp's over. What do we got? Takers? Profit? Come on. Let's hear it. Nice job, Thomas. You betcha. You betcha, Mark, Arsalan, Dirk, Jerry, Michael. It just goes on and on. That's fucking fantastic. Good job, folks. Eric using micros. That's not the same Eric from before. It is the same Eric, but it's not the same trade. That's okay. Whatever it is, it doesn't matter. It's all good. It's the process. The win is more important than the how much right now. Piling up the wins is much more important than the how much right now. The how much will come later if you're not getting the how much today. Eric's normally getting the how much, but I'm just saying, and that's fine. You're experimenting with the micros, right? Fine. You know what you're doing. Nice job, Grant. This is where the patience comes in again. What did I say before? Don't buy 409.70, wait for 408.65. If they give it to us, fine. If they don't, they don't. That was the spike the low and rip it back up in the other direction trade. It was at a number. Just follow along. I'm not going to be right all the time, but I'm going to be right a lot. Nice job, Riz. You get the ants out of your pants. You just follow along with what I'm telling you. Everything I say is for a reason. I didn't like the 409.70 for a reason. Doesn't mean I'm going to be right on that, but I had the thing in my favor. Nice job, Raph. I mean, it's a blockbuster day if you just followed, right? Caught low a day twice, and there's only one low a day. How do you like that? How do you like them apples? Well done. 410 is next, you know. Well, 409.70 to 410. That's the next spot. They'll find overhead resistance at 409.70. Normally, yesterday's close. It's just garden variety stuff. But 410 is so close, it's also magnetic. So if you're looking for an exit, the exit has to be at 409.70 or before, just because they can and normally will react there. We don't know they will, but normally what the normal thing is to react there. It's the way the market works the most of the time, and that's where we use the 80-20 rule. The 80-20 rule means the same stuff happens most of the time. I used to use NinjaTrader, Eric. I thought it was a pretty decent platform. I have a lifetime license. I don't use it anymore, but I like the charting platform. It was pretty good. It's pretty easy to navigate. It's very similar to the navigation and how that TradingView has a lot more stuff, but Ninja was pretty good. It was pretty easy to navigate. And I know what you're saying about the automated stuff in there. You can almost do anything you want. Yes, I remember that stuff. Execution-wise, Daniel, you mean? Well, they're not. They're fast, but they're not. They're still a derivative because they have a broker, and so if you're using their broker, it's probably a little faster, but they still have to go to somebody else. And if you're using a third-party broker, you have to go to there. It's like TradingView. You're always one derivative away from the actual broker, but it's fine. There's nothing wrong with NinjaTrader. It's a good platform. Very flexible. Yeah, I know that. I remember that, Eric. Cash register rings at every move, every exit. So this is a good trade, you think? Morning low. Remember? You look at what the market's doing and you see it was 11:15 or whatever it was, and you say, hey, it's late in the morning. They're going to find the morning low 80% of the time using the 80-20 rule, that kind of thing. It's the way it works. It's crazy as that stuff sounds, as easy and stupid obvious as that stuff sounds. When you look at the market and watch what it does every single day, it's either going to put in a morning high or a morning low most of the time, 8 out of 10 days. Okay, and then they're going to bounce or they're going to come pull back, put in a higher low or a lower high and do their thing. And that's just what it is. Probably not, Daniel. Probably not a coincidence. All right. I'm gonna take this as a W kind of morning, and I'm gonna take a break for a while, and I'll come back about noon, and we'll see what's what. But for now, anybody that bought 408.65, you have free ride. 409.70 or in front of it's an exit. Maybe you already took it. You want to hold for more. 410, and then if they can get above 410, they could start to recover. That's it. All right, I'll be back half an hour. Appreciate everybody. Nice morning. Back for an update, see what's what. Pretty cut and dry from here. Morning low was put in. They've recovered above 410. That's a psychological number. If they stay above there, and especially 409.70, which was yesterday's close, the door's still open for them to get back near the highs. Maybe not to the highs, but near the highs. Anybody have any other questions or anything you want me to look at? Yeah, you can be long still from the lows, absolutely. This is a free ride. You know, we had an attempt at a free ride earlier, didn't work, got a trade out of it. They come down and they give you another trade and you have another attempt at a free ride. Nice job, Eric. Aha, Carlos, I'm glad to hear that. So you're better. I was wondering about you. Well, okay, Carlos, let's give another lesson. I know it's very difficult and you may not have had any bullets left, but 408.65, if you were willing to hold it, it's the same as buying more down there. And I know it was difficult and I know you were in a bad position. I get it. I get it. It's better than it was. Hopefully you'll go positive. I don't know if you got something expiring like today, or if it's Friday, you might get paid tomorrow. We'll see. Yeah, FOMC minutes are being released. We talked about that before. I really don't care about it. Can it move the market? Yeah. It's at 2 o'clock in the afternoon. Nobody's taking a trade based on that. Don't do that. You're either already long or you're doing something different, like not here. I don't look at the VWAP, Carlos. No. I just do what I do. In other words, if you don't see me talk about it or hear me talk about it, watch me do it. If you don't see it on the screen, I've never discussed it at one time. If you want to follow that, that's up to you. I would just, look, if you're here, why don't you follow my stuff? It's what you're paying for. When you incorporate other stuff, you cloud your head. You have different things going on. You're not just looking at what I'm telling you. You're trying to get more information, which actually gives you less because it cancels out the good stuff. Good job, Mark. A little bit at a time. Well, it's a good question, Grace. Where are you long from? You should be long from 408.65. Is that correct? I'll wait for an answer. Yeah, okay. Have you taken profit? Second question. Okay. 409, Grace. You would, that's really the line in the sand. From a technical perspective, it's 409. But because you only have one contract, you can't let that happen. So you have to pick a number and you have to be happy with the profit. And that's the best I can tell you. One contract, one option contract, one ES contract, one bullet, you have one shot. You have to hit a bullseye. So it's up to you. You're nicely in the money on a relative basis, meaning percentage basis, meaning on this trade, you know, it's up for you, what? Almost $2, right? Almost 20 handles. How much you looking for on one bullet? I'll just put that in your head and you make a decision. I would use 409.70 as your line in the sand then. So your original thing was correct because you have one. But I would be thinking about where to take profit and not worry about missing some because you only have one. All right, so I got some other stuff rolling in. So let me read some of these questions. No, forget volume, Shannon. Lower volume is actually a bullish thing. It's not really bullish or bearish. It's just when you have low volume, there's low participation, there's no conviction, and the market tends to kind of float around. And any big volume will move the market in one direction or the other, depending on what side it comes in on. But don't read into low volume at all. Just don't short the market in a dull tape. That's an old traderism. Never short a market in a dull tape. Traderism. You've all heard that before if you've been around for a while. Again, I didn't invent that. Maybe, Daniel. Maybe. I wouldn't rule that off the table. Let's take a look at NVIDIA. There you go. So the 269 was always going to be resistance. Okay, so that's still kind of there. But if they can bust through, the next place is going to be 270.50. And then, you know, it's hard to say. I don't think they get, I mean, I don't know. Hold on. I'll do a better job. 271.25. Okay. 271.25. But they have to get above 269. They have to stay above there. And they're trying. They're working on it. You're welcome. Anything else out there? Apple. You like them apples? Apple. Is that from yesterday? Forget when that's from. That was from yesterday. What do you want to know? I mean, they're up 75 cents today. There's not much going on in Apple. That's really the story. There's not much of a story. Is this a pullback to a breakout area, getting ready for another run higher? Is that possible? Is that what happened here? Let me do it this way. You see me do this in the video all the time. Market runs up to this spot, okay? By virtue of pulling back and being rejected at that spot, that's the market telling you that that spot was important. Therefore, when they come back up and they break out above that spot, and it doesn't have to be to the penny, it's in this zone, right? It's in this area. They ran up here, forget the spike. They ran up here, don't get hooked on the pennies and it's 20 cents or 30 cents. Just, this is a concept. So they run up to this zone and they break out above it. They come back to run a test of the zone and they're finding support. So far, it's a pullback in an uptrend, just like this pullback and this pullback and this pullback and this pullback. You see how that works? Nothing has changed. Unless you want to say, I'm not discounting that. I'm just noticing something else. I want to see what it does. Okay. So the trend line is not here because this is really your second pivot. So this creates the trend line, the pivot low, and then the next pivot. So you can, if you're long Apple, for example, and you're thinking that you want to ride it up for another jolt higher, then you use this trend line as your line in the sand. Call it 158 right now. Okay? That's Apple. That's a real-time read in Apple. I didn't know that before I even brought up the chart. So I just did it with you real time. You see how I noticed something and I wanted to double check it after I told you about the breakout area. I said, well, here we go. This is something. And there's another trend line here, but it doesn't work. It doesn't work. So that's Apple. I wouldn't be surprised if Apple gets up to 170, unless the whole thing falls apart. Does it fall apart tomorrow on the PPI? I don't know. Worry about it tomorrow. Around the horn, the transports are getting hit. The IWM's flat. It's not participating, and the transports are down. So, you know, the last couple of days we saw the opposite, relative strength. Now we see a little bit of relative weakness, but it's not melting away or anything, just flat on the day. So I can't really read into that. If the spiders are up 0.2% and the IWM's flat, it's too close. It doesn't mean anything, not to me. Transports are down 1%. That's something. That's something. NASDAQ's flat. Looking at the composite, Qs are flat. NASDAQ 100. Banks aren't doing much. Banks are waiting on earnings. Smash Mouth is down a little bit. but nothing tremendous. It's a slow day. Where's the volume on the daily chart? Let's take a look. We don't need that. So forget these lines. I'm looking at the volume. See this? There's nothing going on here abnormal. This day will likely end right where the last 4 or 5 days ended. 6 days, whatever it is, right? One anomaly, you got a really light volume. The average volume is something in the neighborhood of 93 million shares a day. And here we have 36 million today so far. Yesterday was 60 million. And so 60 to 62 or 3 million has been the 5 or 6 or 7 day average, even back down here with this one spike. You get a big volume day like this and the market reverses, like if that happened today and the market finished at the lows and you got one of these big volume days, that's different. That's different. You take heed on that. Daniel wants to know if there's any buy area in the Qs. Well, no, not unless they came down farther, like down to 314, 314 and a quarter, something in there. It's give or take. Yeah, morning business, it's over. The day is done. You're not looking for another trade, really. You'll learn that. I know a lot of you are, but you'll learn that it's over today. Today's over. It's a morning business. You can get a trade or two by 10:30 or 11 o'clock. There is no reason to hang around. You'll learn that. Even if you don't believe that right now, you'll learn that later. You can hang around. If they do something, like they may do something to produce a fantastic trade in the afternoon at a number and all that stuff, but the amount of times that they do versus the amount of times they just float back and forth is like 1 or 2 in 10. So it's the opposite of the 80-20 rule. So I'm not bothering. I'm not going to sit around here for 10 days hoping I get a trade on 2 of them. Nick wants to look at oil. Sure. Let's bring it up here. Let's use CL. Okay. Nice run. Let's go to the daily. Breaking out. Where are they going? 88. Don't know if they get to 88, but if they do, it's a short. Can't buy it for 88 because I don't know that they will get there, but what I do know is under normal garden variety conditions, they're going to react around 88. There's your oil, Nick. If you want an intraday oil, it's closing at 2 o'clock anyway, but where are they headed today? That's a tough one. See this, they're at this last pivot high and there's nothing in between the breakdown candle high up here, 85. But I can't say that they will get there. Don't know. But that's the way you read that. You're welcome. Let's see. No, that trade's over, Jerry. You know that. There's no more trades today. I know it's hard to get that through. The day's over. Anything you take in the afternoon has different risk than the morning. You're running out of time. Don't give away the profits. Don't do stupid stuff. Believe me when I tell you, these things are from experience. Everything that you are doing, have done, want to do, or thinking of doing, might do, I've already done it 10 times. All the wrong stuff, 100 times. Who knows? School of Hard Knocks. Yeah, I keep my eye on the dollar. M&EM, Newmont, resistance levels. Well, it's on its way down. You want support, not resistance. Or unless you just bought it long. You just bought it long? NEM? Okay. Well, it's spike of $50 right here. That's today's resistance. And if they get above there, it's 50, 75, 50, 60. Okay, right up here. Okay, no problem. Do I watch the dollar? Yeah, yes, I watch it. I know what's going on with the dollar. I used to cover it in the, I was gonna say in the movies, in the video a long time ago, but the reality is nobody cares. Very few people. So it was a waste of time. This is old stuff. Don't pay attention to that. That's your line in the sand for the IWM today. What about it, Daniel? No, actually, you know what, Daniel? It's never different. A trader starting today does the exact same thing that a trader starting 5 years ago, 10 years ago, 20 years ago, 30 years ago does. I did it all. I did all the mistakes. They're the same ones you guys are making. They're the same ones I'm trying to correct. It's no different. As hard as it is to believe. Yeah, TLT. I got time today. I don't have to run out just yet. Let's see. Let's take a look at a better view here. It's sloppy. There's no clear anything on the daily chart. That's what I can tell you right now. But I can tell you, let me do some numbers real quick. Just give me a second on this. I'm gonna do some work. We'll be back in a minute. If the TLT stays above 106.35, then this is trying to work its way up with a higher low in place to bust through these highs. It's a weekly chart, so a lot happens during the week, but if they close the week up here or they're just trending up and they start to work on these highs up here, okay, and certainly 108, and what I did was I split the difference. I'll show you what that is. Very simple. You got a breakdown candle high and you have a gap. Split the difference. It's 108. Okay, that's the next area of resistance. Could be here, but it could be here, it could be here. So I split the difference. But if they start working their way up here, then it's 112. Forget that. That's something else, but that's what's going on. Maybe. It's hard to believe that rates would come down that much, causing bonds to rally that much, but I don't look at it that way. I just look at the chart and tell you what I see. Good, Jerry. Yeah, that's the whole point. You'll get it. Everybody gets it eventually, or you just go away. Like if you don't want to do what I say, if you don't want to follow the instructions, it's not going to work. And I'm not speaking to anybody individually. Jerry just said he's listening to my advice and is trading differently now. And that's the point. I want you to think differently. And that's why I do what I do. And that's why I discuss things the way I do. And I hit you over the head when I need to. You have to think differently. And if you don't, if you refuse, you'll disappear. You won't be here. It won't work. And you'll be on to the next thing. You'll try somebody else's service, thinking that's going to work. Thank you, Grace. I appreciate that very much. Grace says, my way is not stressful. Well, I appreciate you saying that. And up until the point in which a trader, anybody out there, starts to understand why we do what we do and all this stuff that we discuss all the time, until that happens, it's just a stressful business. But once you have an understanding, you have a different comfort level and obviously less stress going into a trade because you have a different outlook, you have a different mindset. And I appreciate you saying that. Because if you feel that way, then it is working. You're welcome, Chris. Isn't that amazing when we look back at how we used to do what we do and we say, I can't believe I used to do that. I've done that many times. I can't believe I used to do that. What was I thinking? Brian, you probably weren't around. Did you just log in? Because I discussed that 5 times. Here's what I said, Brian. Never short a dull tape. You want to be short, which could be a torture trade over lunch when the market's floating around. The problem, Brian, and I'm going to break you with this, you're looking for a trade. What you didn't hear me say 5, 10 times today was, and every day, you only take the trades that you're looking for because the market is giving it to you. And I discussed nothing about a short at 411, which means I'm not looking for it. If price is close to 411, this is a hint. If price is close to 411 and I'm on air and I'm talking about the market and we're looking at things and I haven't told you that it's a short yet, there's no reason to ask. No, you don't have to apologize. I'm just giving you the scoop and I appreciate it. It's fine. It's just the way I answer questions. Don't ever take it personally. But it's how like the way I said it just now, you're going to remember the last thing I said, you're going to remember. If I haven't talked about it, then it's probably not a short. And you're not going to forget that. That's why I said it. I get you're at work. It's fine. I appreciate you being here. Don't ever take what I say personally or how I say it. I'm teaching you, and sometimes I'm just a little hard, but it's by design because you're not the only one listening. So if I say it, I don't want you to be offended at something, but if I say it in the way I say it, other people are taking that information in and they're remembering it too. There's a method to the madness. It's fine. I get it. We're good. I wish you were here earlier for the trades, unless maybe you were. Excellent. I'm glad you did. The money will come. You're right, Daniel. Everybody that tries to be successful in this business blows up accounts. Everybody. Me, you, everybody. I don't do it now, but I did. Yeah, you have to believe, Chris, and it's good. Yeah, I got it. Listen, I know what I'm providing. Those that have been around a long time, trying to do this for a long time, going back and forth, not really finding great success. But if you've been watching the market for any length of time and you've been trying different things, different strategies, different services, listening to different people, whatever, then you know this is different. Yeah, you're right on my camp, Eric. I've been doing this a long time. I appreciate that. So do I. I'm going to stick around till like 1 o'clock today around, but I'm going to just walk around for a minute. I'll take a break. Hold on, a couple more things rolling in. Thanks, Dima. Yeah, Anishan, but I'm not doing that in here. I mean, yeah, it's playing ping pong, and I could do it all day long. I'm not doing it in here. It's a bad habit. I can't teach it. No, I can just give you like shorter term numbers. Like in between here, okay? There's other stuff. But as the day goes on, they're going to pull back, they're going to bounce, and they're just going to play ping pong back and forth. And can you trade them for 2 or 3 points? And the answer is I can, but I can't teach that. I could just give you the numbers, but I'm not going to do it because you'll end up chopping yourself up. Believe me, I know what I'm doing. I'm going to keep you away from the stuff that you don't need to be doing. You're looking for another trade for 2 or 3 points. Go open a micro account or a futures account, use micros, whatever, or something like that, and play ping pong. There's nothing that I could say, okay, here's the strategy, there's these 5 steps. It doesn't work like that. There's just other numbers in here. If I could do it, but I'm not going to do it. I used to do it. Sometimes in the afternoon, if I'm bored, I sit around and I scalp it for 2 or 3 points. Of course I do. Not every day, not a lot, but I do. Just because. I don't want to trade out of boredom. I don't like to trade out of boredom. Honestly, I walk away in the afternoon, most of the afternoon, and I do other stuff. 2 or 3 hours in the afternoon, minus doing some prep work for the video, things I want to talk about tonight. I'm not here. If it's a wild day or something, that's different. Yeah, I knew you'd find it a little different, Ron. I'm glad you're satisfied so far. All right, let me walk away for a few minutes. I'll be back and we'll do another 15 minutes or so of this back and forth stuff, and then we'll give it a wrap. How could you have taken the long, Anishan, which is 408.65, and given away any profits? How's that even possible? They went down to the place I said. That's the line in the sand. You just picked your own number. Well, okay. I don't have to say it. Listen, I've done it all. I don't have to say it. When you're guessing, it just doesn't freaking work. I'm telling you. One of the hardest things to do, other than holding a trailer, is actually just doing what I say. It's so easy, but it's so hard to do, which is don't do anything. It's hard not to do something. Patience, I talk about every single morning. I'm your alter ego. You got to wait for the market to give you the thing. Gave us 2 things today. What's wrong with that? This is not a 6-7 trade business in the morning. It's just not. Sometimes we get another stock or 2, create 3 or 4 trades. That's fine, but those are 2 different categories. Something for everybody. Stocks on the move or anything moving after the open or whatever. NVIDIA. But this is not a average 6-7 trade in 2-hour business. It's just not. It's very hard to be successful that way. you're putting too much risk on the table. Think of it as sitting at a blackjack table and playing all the hands rather than just one or two. It's the same thing. I just made that up. It works. I'll be back in a couple minutes, so like 2 minutes. All right, I'm back. Anything else? Still gonna hang out for a few minutes anyway. How we doing, Carlos? You still in this thing? By the way? Ah, we have another victim. Got him. Came clean. Here's the idea, Eric, is I appreciate that. Right now, your focus is learning as much as you can so that you don't need me. Do me a favor. Anybody that has access to Twitter thing, I put up the trades on Twitter today again. I like doing that. Brings in a subscriber or two here and there. Not necessarily a paying subscriber, it brings in a subscriber to my email list, somebody that's curious. And that's just what it's all about, right? For me, right? You got to look at it from my perspective. So if you can go on Twitter, comment under the thing, let me know how you did, let it on the Twitter thing, you know, just kind of confirm, know that there's real people behind this thing. It's definitely weak. Jets, Brian, tell you what's in development. You can't do it yet because that's a head and shoulders pattern in the making. It's a weekly chart. They got to come down here for it to trigger. They get above this breakdown candle high, it turns bullish. If they can't, it's weak. On the flip side, or another side, you have to look at the whole thing, right? I'm the umpire, calling balls and strikes. Here's a low, here's a higher low, and here's a higher low. That's bullish. If they clear this, it's bullish. That's the way it works. Forget what they say on TV. That's the story. If they tell you that money managers are shorting jets, okay, I can find you an equal amount or more that's long jets. They're just telling you half the story. They don't know what the hell they're talking about, believe me. Don't worry about it, Grant. It's all good. It's not my shtick. I just, you know, in order to keep this thing alive, I have to kind of tell people what's going on. Hence the videos at night and a little bit of Twitter here and there. That's my whole marketing plan. I don't do anything else. I hardly even say, other than a morning email, which I give you a link to the thing, I don't really do anything else. People come, people go. Some can't do it. I get it. Not everybody can do it. Some won't listen. They just can't do it. You'd be surprised. Yeah, you probably wouldn't be surprised. You know, I get an email. I have to cancel because I blew up my account on a day when we had 2 positive trades. You know, what am I supposed to do with that information? They can't do it. They're not following along. Carlos, you out there, buddy? Ganem, you should be at least somewhere close to even by now. I never heard of that, Sash. I don't know what that is. Whatever you like, Grace. Just do whatever you're comfortable with. Something for everybody. Now, I'm just saying as an example, Grant, not today. Just I get those emails like on a day when there was a couple nice trades and scratching my head saying, well, maybe you can't learn it. Maybe you can't be taught. Maybe you just refuse to follow along. I don't know. But it happens all the time. I get cancellations all the time. I can't do it. It's a hard business. It's not easy. For what, Sash? The futures trading account? I can't recommend anything because I don't know anything other than what I use. And what I use or have used. What I use today is TradeStation because I just have everything in one place. It's easy. I'm not in love with their margin requirements for futures, but I deal with it. It's no big deal. Just put more money in there. But I've used NinjaTrader, which gives you the option to use other brokers other than NinjaTrader if you don't want. I think even TradeStation, like I could do NinjaTrader platform with TradeStation in the back end, meaning executing the orders. Those are the only 2 I've used, and they're the only 2 I would say they're fine. The others I haven't used, so I can't make a comment on them, but there's tons of futures brokers out there. NinjaTrader, you have to license their platform, and it's kind of expensive. Interactive Brokers or TD Ameritrade or E-Trade or any of those, they have futures accounts, I'm sure. You just got to Look on their website and figure it out. Call them up. You must have bought a lot higher, Ganem. I'm not sure what you did. There's your 95. It's still resistance. If you bought, let me just repeat this since maybe you're new, but I say this from time to time. If you're buying like options that expire today, for example, it's designed for you to lose. If you're buying a call or buying a put that expires today, you're going to lose the majority of them, even if you're right. Look what happened today. You'll end up being right and still lose. It looks like you can make a lot of money using them until you realize you can't on a consistent basis. When we talk about the futures ES or MES, exchange traded products, there's a lot of folks in here that use the SPXL and SPXS, which are triple longs intraday. They're okay to trade. You don't hold those overnight. It's really trader's choice what you want to use. I'm just telling you what I know. And I know that those options that expire today or even Friday, very hard to trade because the market goes up and it goes down. When it goes down, your premium just gets sucked out. And remember, as time goes on, it's harder and harder to get back to break even when you're under the price. Yeah, a lot of those brokers have a demo account. NinjaTrader has it, TradeStation has it. TOS is what? Thinkorswim? Is that what that is? Didn't they get bought by somebody? Schwab? Okay. Interesting. Yeah, I knew they got bought by somebody. I didn't realize it was Schwab. Okay. Schwab. Minus their issues with the deposits and the banking crisis that they got wrapped up in, they're a pretty good platform over there. Schwab. 410.95, still resistance, huh? Pretty amazing. All right, last call. I'm gonna give it a wrap. Great job, Eric. Thank you, Grant. Consider this a knowledge transfer. I can't do it all at once, I can't do it all in one day, but over time, I'm transferring my knowledge to you. That's what this is. I don't need to go out with it. I can pass it along. I can't answer that, Cam. That's your trade. Sorry. I don't know what the market's going to do from here. I don't know if it's going to go up another 2 points or down another 2 points. I can't tell you. That's okay, Brian. That's fine. It was a coin toss, and that's why it's not good enough for me. And plus that time of day issue. I don't like that around lunch. But listen, trader's choice, and that's fine. Still an important number. Sure. There you go. So what are they doing now? They're building energy around 269. 269 was resistance. If they can just eat time off the clock and not really come much below 269, what are they doing? They're building energy to run to the next number. Where's the next number? 271.25. Why? Because this low here. It's the reverse of what we said before. Let's learn about this. Market came down. Market told you that price was important because it bounced there, it went up, blew through it. It's a breakdown area, not a breakout area, breakdown area. Come back to test it. That's why it's resistance. We don't know that they will or won't get through, but that's an exit. You're welcome. You all get the point because you all will get the point because every chart acts and reacts the same way. So when I bring up a chart and I do this routine, when I show you, it's not always the same routine, but there's only a finite amount of routines. So it's doing one of the routines. That's the way it is. All right, folks. Wait, hold on. I'm not sure I understand the question, Dima. What about them? I mean, I use all of them. That's the answer. But in this case, I already looked at this thing deep before. So I already knew what the game was. I look at all the time frames. That's the only way I can put everything together. No, intraday, I'll even look at a 5, a 10, a 30-minute. I look at a 2 hour, a 3 hour, a 4 hour. I look at all of them. And you'll see in here, I bring them up from time to time. Look at a 2 hour chart. Does it look different than a 1 hour chart? Not really, but sometimes they do, and you see something different. 3 hours, 4 hours, daily. You just look at them all and you say, well, what's it actually doing? Remember we said before it came down to retest that breakout area, bouncing. I think that was Apple, but this is the same thing, right? Just came down into the whole thing. rather than the top of it. But this whole thing is a breakout area from here to here. Ran up, 8 time off the clock, ran up again, boom. All right, folks, that's going to do it. Appreciate everybody. It's a good day. Even those that made a couple of mistakes today, learn from the mistakes. That's the goal. That's the worst case scenario, is you learn from your mistake. Okay, mistakes are part of the business. You minimize them over time. I still make mistakes. Nobody's mistake free. Thanks, Dima. You're welcome, Ganem. This is what we signed up for. All right, they're pushing. That was some low we bought down there, huh? Jesus. All right, all y'all, don't short a slow tape. Thank you, Grace. There you go. That's not, I didn't invent that. I learned that. First, I made the mistake over and over and over again. Then I heard it and I didn't believe it. And I continued to try and short the tape in the slow part of the day and the dull tape, all that stuff. And then finally, you realize, hey, wait a minute, they were right. Whoever they was. You're welcome. All right, that's it. Appreciate everybody. Have a great afternoon. And we will be back tomorrow in uniform, ready to go. And the last thing I will tell you is don't do stupid stuff. Appreciate everybody. We'll see you tomorrow.